Hello girls and boys, welcome back to Read Me a Story. I'm Kozyra and this is my book. I'm the author of this book called Tips and Tidbits for Parents and Teachers. So this is for your moms and dads to read, and they can get it from amazonbooks.com, and it will tell them all about my 50 years in the classroom, and I share with them what I have learned there, and it will help them to help you. So girls and boys, today in this holiday season, I'm going to read a book by Hans Christian Andersen that was written so long ago, and it's a sad story called The Little Match Girl. You can see how many times that I have read this book. It's looking very tattered and torn, but it's well loved by all of our family, and we read it every year. So I hope that my grandchildren are watching, and they always like to hear this story. Max, Theo, Josephine, Charlotte, Penelope, and Simon, the little match girl. It was late on New Year's Eve and a very cold night. Snow had been falling all day, and still the flakes were coming down. The roofs were all covered, and the branches of the trees hung down heavy with snow. Outside in the empty streets, a poor little match girl was wandering sadly about. No one had bought a single box of matches during the whole long day, and she was very tired. She had lost her torn slippers, and her clothes were thin and ragged. At last she found a dry spot where she curled up, and she tried to keep warm. Lights were shining from many windows. She could smell delicious food. Oh, if only she dared to light just one match. At last she did. As she watched the bright flame, she imagined that she saw in it a stove with shining brass handles and a hot blazing fire. And she tried to move closer, but poof! The flame went out. She struck another match. This time when it blazed up, she saw a table spread with wonderful foods, and there was a decorated cake, plump, ripe, and juicy fruit, and a beautifully roasted and stuffed turkey, all ready to be carved. She could almost taste the lovely food, but as she reached forward, poof, the flame went out. She lit a third match, and this time she saw the biggest and loveliest Christmas tree she had ever seen. It was decorated with many shiny bright balls, chains of tinsel, and gold beads. Candles flickered on the branches and made dancing shadows on the walls. The little girl moved toward the tree, but again, poof, the match went out. She looked up to where the candles had been, and now there was a bright streak of light across the sky. Someone is dying, thought the little girl, for her grandmother had told her that when a star falls, a soul is going to heaven. She struck one more precious match against the wall. The flame grew very large. In the circle of light before her, she saw her grandmother. How gentle and happy she looked. "Grandmother," she called, "have you come to take me with you? Or will you disappear when the light goes out, like the warm stove, the delicious food, and the beautiful Christmas tree?" "Please don't disappear," cried the little match girl. She quickly lit another match, and then another, and she was so afraid that if the match went out, her grandmother would no longer stay with her, but would disappear at once, like the stove the good food, and the beautiful Christmas tree. The light from so many matches made the night seem as bright as day. Her grandmother looked so peaceful, so gentle and kind. She came closer to the little girl, and just as the last match spluttered out, she reached toward her grandchild and touched her softly. And then the grandmother lifted the little match girl into her arms. They held tightly to each other, and then they began to soar up into the sky. They passed through the showers of twinkling snowflakes, and they passed sparkling stars. Up and up they went, far above the earth. And now there was no more cold, no more hunger, no more pain, and no more sadness. In the morning, the townspeople found the little match girl, huddled in a sheltered corner by the wall of one of the big houses. She had frozen to death on the last night of the old year. Now she looked peaceful, and there was a gentle smile on her face. The burned matches were scattered on the snow in front of her. "Poor child," the people said. "She must have tried to warm herself with her matches. How very sad." But none of the people knew what beautiful visions the little match girl had seen the night before. And they did not know that at last she had found peace with her beloved grandmother. What a sad story. This is one of the classic stories written by Hans Christian Andersen, always a favorite at this time of the year. Thanks for joining me, girls and boys, and I hope you'll come back again for another story on Read Me a Story. Bye for now.